CeBIT, so this is going to be the last few hours that I'm going to be on the stream with you, and I just wanted you guys to let us know in the chat if there are any videos that you want to see again, because we want to play whatever it is that you want, especially Sheldon commercials. So I am joined right now with Philipp from Protonet.
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
So you're a startup. You're from
Yes.
Hamburg.
Yeah.
Tell me the entire story.
Entire story. Oh,
The whole thing.
That's long. So first of all, thanks for having me. So what we're doing, we're building these boxes, yeah, and they're for small and medium-sized businesses, and they run a software that lets small teams communicate and share files and manage projects, like do everyday work, so to say. And it's made in a very, very easy and simple way so that everybody can use it. So it's actually for people who don't understand anything about IT.
So it's almost like creating your own personal cloud without having to think about it?
Yeah, we call it a personal server.
Oh, a personal server.
Yeah.
It's very stylish.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's just like, I mean, there's so many IT products out there in the world, you know, and if this would be the last thing we're doing, you know, we want to get off the show with having done something really, really nice and epic. So, and the reason why we're doing this actually is very, very simple. If you look at the internet today, you see it's great, it's huge, and everybody has access to knowledge in any country of the world, basically. And it's not anymore only for elites. But what we also see is that the infrastructure of the internet is owned by elites. It's owned by telecommunication companies. It's owned by technology companies. It's controlled by, in some countries at least, by governments like, for example, China, Iran, Turkey, or so on. And we think it's for the ideals of the internet, it's endangering this kind of idea.
You know, that's actually really interesting. One of the major trends here at CeBIT has been security, right? It's obviously a very infrastructure-focused conference, but security is top on everyone's list. Edward Snowden was a speaker this week, and there has been some live hacking sessions. And around this discussion, a lot of people have fundamentally been saying that, you know, the internet was created for open sharing, and encryption was never one of the original ideals, right? So like the place where the internet began isn't the internet that we need today, like fundamentally, you know, for security reasons, or like you're saying, it's controlled by different government, it's controlled by the elites, but the way that the government, or the way that the government is, the way that the internet isn't necessarily the way that we're envisioning using it today. So what type of like use cases are you kind of seeing out of your envisionment of your private cloud?
I mean, I agree. But it's not really about the use case. It's about who owns the data. You know, I'm really happy, you know, that I can track people on my website so I can sell them better products. I'm really happy that I have location-based services so I can order a cab or whatever I can do. It's really, really a fascinating thing. But what we also see, the internet is changing rapidly every day, and legislation, for example, it doesn't keep up with the internet. So, and what I want as a user is being on the same level as the service provider. I want to know what they know about me. I want to know what they are doing with my data. It's in some parts totally okay, you know, that you use my data to make a better service. Because it has been that way ever since, you know. It doesn't mean, I mean, they used to do it with paper and pencil, so and now they're doing it with different things, and that's okay, but I really want to know what's happening. And part of this is also that I need parts of the internet to enable myself to do this, so because it's not going to happen by itself, you know, because you can earn a lot of money with data, so that's also why we kicked off this campaign. We have this Free Your Data campaign we kicked off two weeks ago.
Okay.
And that's basically part of this.
So can you describe what's going on with your Free Your Data campaign?
Yeah. So the Free Your Data campaign, the core of the Free Your Data campaign basically is a new law we're proposing, and we call it the European Data Sovereignty Act. And it enables the user to actually see and own what other companies see and own from the user. And we say that every bigger platform with more than 1 million recurring users should provide the user by request and for free and in a machine-readable format its data. And also not just like photos and pictures and videos, but all kind of data I have. And that brings me all this data that is out there from me that are my data, my resource, brings them in a tangible format that where I know what is out there.
So now, the internet is different in every country. How is this campaign going to be applied globally, or is this like a German-focused campaign?
It's of course we started in Germany because we are from Germany. We have a network here, but we want it to be a European legislation because Europe has power. You know, it's 500 million people in the market, and in Germany only would not be powerful enough. So if we're campaigning for sort of like you can call it a personal data API. And if you have that for 500 million people, it's way more powerful and way more relevant to platform providers than if you only have 80 million people. That's why we say it's a European initiative.
Interesting. So a personal data API. Now, the potential. I know you were saying it's more about ownership of data, but to me, it's all about kind of like context and use case because. The conversations that I've been having about this week, I feel like people aren't thinking forward about what's happening with the data, like the acquisition and the organization, just doesn't seem to be one of the concepts that's quite strong these days. And contextual awareness is definitely another topic that we're seeing trending throughout this show. So, like with your concept of the personal API. Like how would you see like the individual actually taking charge of that? Because like you described that like we can interact with it, but like what is the context around that?
Okay, so what's going to happen if we have this law, you know, and platforms integrate this API? Right now my data is scattered like everywhere, you know, and what I can do is I can put them somewhere and I actually have the asset in my hand. And what's going to happen is there's going to be lots of businesses or lots of people starting businesses that will do something for me with my data. You know, right now I have the resource. You know, it's like, as I say, it's like the new oil. But why am I not rich like the guys from the Arab countries that produce oil while I'm producing the resource? And what's going to happen? There's going to be lots of businesses turning these data into money for me and through my terms and conditions. You know, and we as a user can be part of this of the value chain of data. And this is what we think is going to happen. So
basically, I'm going to be enabled to sell myself.
Well, maybe you're enabled to sell yourself, but because what's now happening now, say a big social network platform has your data and earns X amount of money with my data, what I'm doing, say 100 euros a year or 200 euros a year. And why am I seeing nothing of this? Yeah. Why cannot I be hooked into this? Why I'm providing the resource? I'm not saying big platforms should shut down or shouldn't do what they're doing, but I just want to be a little bit a part of it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm being sold without my consent anyways, I might as well be able to take charge.
Take some money out of it as well. Or for some people, it's not the money. For some people, it's just knowing what they know. And that's important to a lot of people.
Yeah, my only little concern with that is that if all of my data goes into one place, it'd be easier to get it all at the same time if someone
can
hacks it.
Of course, I mean, you have to keep it in a place where that is kind of secure, of course. But there's a lot of providers out there offering very, very cool products where you can securely store or securely distribute your data.
So is that kind of the concept behind this, that I can securely keep my data here on this?
It started out as a Protonet campaign, so to say. We said like, okay, how can we get what kind of campaign can we do? But it really got a lot of momentum, and a lot of other initiatives joined. So it's addressed by us. So but a lot of initiatives joined in. So Republika joined in. A lot from the German political parties joined in. Konstantin von Notz, he's in the NSA committee, and a lot of people said like, okay, we think this is a really, really cool thing. We have started a petition on change.org. In the last 7 days, we got about 50,000 people who signed this petition. And it's really interesting to see that a lot of people are really backing this, and not only in Germany, also in other countries.
Excellent. So, if we can just get to the hardware, but like what you're actually creating there on the table. So is this? So I've actually been a fairly big advocate of somebody coming out with a device that the average consumer can take into their home, because right now home media servers are just a nightmare. Like you actually see like an 8-bit DOS screen for the majority of the time, and it's like, please enter your IP address, and the average user is like, what is an IP address, and all of these types of things. And so that's one of the big challenges that I've seen moving forward, that they still haven't made it very easy for the average consumer to create a personal cloud. And I think the personal cloud is going to be one of the next big trends emerging over the next few years.
Totally.
Yeah. So can you tell me about what's going on here with your personal server?
Yeah, so the main value is in the software. So the software is, or let me say it in a different way. So digitalization cannot mean that everybody has to be a system administrator. It has to mean that every product should be very, very easy to use. We've seen it with the iPhone almost a decade ago. It's one button, everybody has fun using it. It's very, very easy to manage. Nobody reads the iPhone manual, or I think at least. I don't know. But
I'd agree with you. No one reads the manual.
Yeah, no one reads the manual. No one calls for support, when something's not working. And we said, can't we do this with products that are actually usually a bit more complex for small companies? First of all, because there's a lot of small companies out there that have like 5 or 6 employees. Think of the average agency or consultant company, small consultant company. They say, I want to focus on my core business, and I don't want to pay a guy maintaining my mini data center, which I paid 5,000 or 10,000 euros for, with a flat rate contract a month. I really want something where I can push the button and it just works instantly. I don't want to take care of IP addresses, port forwarding. I don't want to take care of this. I just want it to work. And that's why we built this.
All right, so you've got one button. But it doesn't seem possible that this type of system can be plug and play.
But it is actually possible. And so what happens is, if I order one of those, I get like a little URL.
Okay.
And I turn it on, plug it to put it in the router, turn it on, wait a couple of 2 or 3 minutes, then I type in the URL, and then I instantly can go on our software. It's called Protonet Soul. It's the productivity software, collaboration software, and I can instantly start inviting people through email, start working on projects, communicating. I have a messenger, so I have my little private WhatsApp thingy for me or my company or my home. I have one of those at home. I have a couple of private projects I'm working on. For example, I have my girlfriend, which I'm texting with, on this box. I have my parents on this box where we share, stuff.
Recipes.
Yeah, recipes, for example. Yeah, you can do a lot of things with it.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot of things we can improve always, and there's a lot of big features coming up, of course. But the basic possibility to at least have my communication and my data management in one place is totally possible.
So this is something where you're owning all of your data, all your company communications can be kind of like secure. Yeah. Is there like encryption or security involved as well?
Yeah, it's SSL encryption, 2048 bits, so it's sort of like online banking. But we shouldn't forget, that some people ask like, okay, is it hackable or is it not hackable? Nothing is not hackable. So,
yeah, of course.
But of course, we care about security, but our focus is on simplicity.
Okay.
So making it very simple for everybody to use. Well,
I'd actually be very curious to try it out, because my roommate is the bottleneck of me improving the technology of my apartment, and I've tried to put in a few. I got a NAS at home for file sharing onto the TV. I've tried a few different methods, but ultimately when I come home from a business trip, everything's unplugged, and the player where she can plug a USB into the TV is ultimately what's back. Yeah. So if there actually is a solution that's legitimately plug and play and my roommate can use it, this will be like a huge news for the internet.
Okay. So, of course, you can try one out. We'll send you one, and you can just test it for a couple of weeks. Sure.
Awesome. So it's currently on the market, and what's the price point for it?
It's currently on the market, so we sold about 1,600 boxes.
Hey, congratulations!
Of different types. So, and it starts at 1,400 euros, goes up to 6,300, depending on storage, computing power, and service level.
Excellent. So what kind of hardware are we seeing inside for the options?
The smaller one is we have up to 1 terabyte SSDs. We use a variation of an Intel board.
Okay.
But I'm not a tech guy, so I cannot
Oh,
tell you
okay, no
exactly what
problem.
it is. But for example, the passive cooling mechanism, so it's passively cooled, doesn't make any noise,
Okay.
runs on less power than a bike light.
It's power than a bike light.
Yeah, and it's very, very silent because it has this chimney effect, taking the cool
The industrial
air.
design is gorgeous.
Yeah,
I
we have
have
a
to. I
very
have to
good
tell you,
industrial designer.
like this doesn't look like any kind of home server that I've seen or any kind of
Okay.
cloud box that I have access
Thanks.
to. So that's
David, our product designer.
yeah, he did a fantastic job. So now, how exactly did you go from creating like this gorgeous piece of hardware to launching a Free Your Data campaign? I mean, like you kind of said that one came from the other, but can you talk about the experiences of deciding to spearhead a European initiative?
So last year we did this crowdfunding to finance this box. We did a €3 million crowdfunding on CeBIT, and we saw a lot of people really like the idea of what we're doing. And we saw also that we are able to create a technical solution for data sovereignty. But what we also saw, because this crowdfunding campaign was a huge success, it was the fastest crowdfunding in the world, so it was over in 5 days. And a lot of politicians came to us and wanted to take pictures, like politicians do it. And what we saw is we have the technical solution, but legislation is far behind what the internet actually is about, because
absolutely.
they usually don't use a lot of the internet. They use email, maybe Twitter, but that's it. And we said, okay, for us as a corporate citizen, it's important to also speak up on a different level than on a business level, but also speak up on a political or a society level. And that's why we created this campaign with a bunch of other people. I think they're also here in the back.
Okay.
But I don't really, no, they're not, but on the website freeyourdata.org, you can check it out. And that's basically having another part next to the technological solution.
So where does this? I know this is more of a conversation that happens in the U.S., but where does this stand around the topic of net neutrality?
Well,
like they're just running in parallel, pretty much.
There's of course, there's some people. When we first started this, there were data protection people that said you cannot do this. It's outrage. And some data protection people said okay, this is totally the right thing. So I cannot really say if it's in this or this direction towards net neutrality. There might be different opinions on that. So
okay, no problem. I know it's like there's so many initiatives around how the internet is fundamentally broken and just how we're going to go around to fix it. And I've become a little disheartened over the past few days when some technical speakers were just no. The internet is fundamentally broken for the way that we want to use it today.
Yeah, look at the Clue Train Manifesto, for example. They, after, 16 years or so, they released another statement, saying okay, something is kind of wrong. And I think it's totally true. And if we look in the future, what is going to happen if the internet continues the way it is, big services, I don't have anything against capitalism or so, please don't understand, get me wrong. But big services having a lot of power predicting what you're doing. And in 10 years or in 20 years, you're going to walk through the supermarket on a Friday night because you're having a party and you still need gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And the supermarket's going to know that you need gin and tonic, and it's going to be much more expensive than it will be if it's the internet is going to take another way.
Oh man, imagine those digital signs knew that I needed gin and tonic, and then the prices changed as I was walking through the aisle.
It's science fiction, and someday you're going to take out the fiction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's some really interesting discussions around artificial intelligence in the cloud and how to kind of organize and provide context to your data so that it becomes more useful to you.
Yeah.
Right. But you are completely right that the inability for us to be able to control how our data is being used is a fundamental question. Definitely. Totally. And you can already see, well, of course you can already see the horrific perils of how it's affecting you in real time when you just look at Facebook. Yeah. I mean, on my bike ride home, when I had location aware running in the background, because it was on by default at one point, and then I got home and it was like, would you like to eat at this Thai restaurant? And I'm like, oh my God, it's suggesting all of these places that I just walked by. And then you realize, you're like, crap, right? Immediately turn it off. And you have absolutely no control over how you're being marketed to. And you're right, you should.
Maybe who are you going to vote? You know, maybe.
Oh no.
I don't know. Everything is possible, technically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But do you know what else is interesting? I had an interview yesterday with Inbot, and they do. Basically, they have they want to kind of provide you with a corporate identity card, essentially, because LinkedIn's kind of getting out of this game, right? So their API is not open. So like one of the things that they're finding interesting is that they want to be able to provide artificial intelligence around the context of your business, right? So not something like Salesforce is doing, but it's something a little more like multi-network. And I just remember sitting there thinking, this is freaking scary. Right?
Totally.
But it's true. But at least when you choose to go with a private service, you know what's happening because you at least have some level of control. But on the internet, like you're saying, you have nothing.
Yeah, if you know, I think if you know what's happening, or say it in a different way, if you don't know what's happening, you're not going to be able to do something. You're not going to be able to make decisions because you don't know what's out there. And the first step could be that you know actually what's happening, and then you can make a decision, and then you can maybe act upon this decision. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. So this was Free Your Data from Protonet. And Philipp, thank you so much for the really great conversation and and kind of raising the points that everyone needs to be more aware of their personal data and that we should be, getting a piece of the pie as an individual living in this society. Yeah.
Right.
So
thanks a lot.
We're just going to take a quick break and we're going to watch one of my favorite products that I've seen from this show. This is a Bluetooth bike lock. The lock is $100 and it's as expensive as my bicycle, but I need it anyways. So we're going to be checking out that video and then my hands-on with the ZenBook UX305. Find out what I think. Spoiler alert, I love it.